got
new,
my TV
decked
mounted,
out,
and I
man.
say, man,
You're
Clint,
doing
look at
well.
this.
You're doing well.
Yeah. And then you want to remind me, it's like, hey, well, how'd you get it? And I said, well, I put it on my MasterCard. It's like, as long as I make my payments, it's still mine, Clint. I don't care how you spend
Oh,
it.
no. I would never question whether it's yours or not. The question is whether the ability to get it means you're doing well financially. That's the test. And a lot of people can live well and not really do well.
Well, that's true.
They live well, but they don't do well. They live well. So I'm not against that at all. I love the idea of people getting back to work. What this does, though, this $1.8 million, it flies in the face of the Republican position that people would rather stay home and get a free check versus going back to work. So this is a great, that 1.8 million is actually great. It's the reason why I don't think the Republicans need to squeeze people on their unemployment benefits down to $200.
Wait a
They're,
minute, wait a
they're
minute. I don't get that rationale. So you're
yeah,
saying,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, there are 1.8 million jobs that were created, so people are going back to work. Now,
Yes.
you have to pull
Instead
that
of
apart. Is it 1.8 created jobs or people being called back? Because you guys like to say, well, he didn't really create 1.0 million jobs, and I agree with that. But it's all good news if they were called
oh
back.
no, I'm not. I'm just saying the real good news is it says that Republicans' view of the American workforce is out of touch. People see. Here's the thing. I really give to you. Republicans have this view that people just want a free handout, that they just want the government to take care of them. And all the Democrats ever want to do is create more and more entitlements so that people are basically dependent on government handouts.
Well,
That's
that
a
characterization is not true. What we think is that Democrats want to create handout to make people not want to do it. See, it's
but
not that
all
we
right,
think
okay.
people are lazy. We
Right
think
now. Okay, so here's the Republican argument as to why they want to reduce the employment benefits from 600 to 200, and it's basically been said we want to disincentivize not working.
right. That makes
Aha.
sense.
If you needed to, right? That's a presumption that you need to. Your $1.8 million job says you don't need to do that. People want to go back to work. And
Mm.
most employers are saying, look, we have employees, we call them, they're showing up. Now, are you going to have people that game the system? That's always the case. But you can't lump everybody together for that. So your $1.8 million, 8 million jobs says people they want their jobs back. They want to be back at work. And so we don't have to worry about cutting their benefits down and squeezing them in the process.
But here's the thing: you say that as a pejorative. What we're saying is you're going to make more than $600 if you go back to work, and so that we can do both things at the same time. We can encourage people to go back to work, and we can also say
that's incorrect. That is incorrect.
What's that?
The $600 is in addition to your standard work comp. So the state comes out and says, based on our calculations, here is your payment for workman's comp for unemployment.
Right.
And then the federal government has been adding 600 to that.
Okay.
And what a lot of arguments have been saying, hey, look,
they don't make that much money anyway.
Exactly. So they won't go back to work.
Hey,
well, guess
here's
what?
The thing.
1.8 million did.
It seems like I can see the same. I can see a relationship between people having the issue with Trump saying, "What the hell do black people have to lose? What the hell do you have to lose?" With us also saying, "Okay, you don't make $600. You don't make this much anyway. We're not really doing anything against you. You don't make this money anyway. So how about we incentivize you? We're not going to let you go broke. We're not going to let you lose your house. We're going to have food on the table." But we know it's just not a few people that game the system because we're in this COVID pandemic. I don't know if you really look at or if you consider our culture milk the system. I've been telling my wife, let's just brace for the number of, and this is going to be hard to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I have a Trump syndrome because I don't always articulate it the way I want. Let's brace for the number of cases that are going to be bogus because of COVID-19.
We need cases.
You're going to make a lot of money with people suing. I couldn't go back to work because I had the COVID and the COVID caused me to do this and this. I mean, just this. We're going to be wagged by this for a long time.
I can appreciate your reluctance to fall for the Republican okie doke and say that. I can appreciate that because they have been saying that. Mitch McConnell's been saying that you need some kind of legislation to kind of deal with liability related to COVID.
And you don't agree?
No, I don't.
Oh
Here's
my
what I say.
goodness.
Watch me. I'm gonna tell you why. If you let the judicial system put people to death, it can determine who's responsible for somebody being sick. That's my position on that. If it's solid enough that we can let it execute people. You mean it can't figure out, whether somebody owes somebody or doesn't know somebody related to an illness? And this is nothing new. People get sick on jobs and in the community all the time.
Right.
This is just this one. We deal with asbestos and mesothelioma. There are all kinds of illnesses that the legal system has had
Those
to come
illnesses
in.
can be traced. We can't even do contact tracing on who had COVID and who
And
passed
so,
it. So you're trying to tell me that the system is going to figure out what the CDC can't
so the
months and
evidentiary,
years after the
yeah.
fact.
So the legal evidentiary system, it has a standard of proof. The
Mm-hmm.
people, the voters, get to sit there, and if you prove your case, you win. You don't prove your case, you don't win. But think about what I always say, and this has been a defense I've had anytime somebody says anything about the legal system. You let it execute people. You let this system take people's lives. You
Mm-hmm.
trust it to get that right, but you don't trust it to figure
No,
out the
no,
dollars
no.
is it.
You just made a huge leap. We don't trust that it gets it right. We
So
have
we're
to
not trying to stop it.
concede that it got it right.
You do trust it because we won't stop the death penalty. If we didn't trust it, we would stop the death penalty. That's my position on that. And listen, I argue this is a once a month argument I go out and make, and people, that sounds crazy. I tell you how crazy it sounds. For 20 years, I argued that the Civil War was about treason. 20 years, I argued that, and people shot me down. And suddenly, finally, somebody finally said, maybe we shouldn't have military bases named after people who fought against the doggone United States. It's obvious. And so anybody says that we can't figure the legal system can't figure it out. Well, I say there's a bunch of other stuff they can't figure out either, but we're letting it do it anyway. We're accepting the errors. Here's the difference, Professor, and this is the most insidious thing about America. The COVID liability issues in the legal system, they come down to one thing: money. And we are more concerned about protecting money in America, who has it, and making sure it only changes hands based on what we want it to do. Now I'm gonna go really elite for you, and that is based on simple things. Poor people, the only way you get money is by the hour working for minimum wages. For the elites, well, you get to be more strategic. You get to be, Trump decides your company should win. I'm gonna put your can on my desk. It's a whole different dynamic. So I think that I know I leaped off the bridge on that one.
Well, but I'm glad you did, because it goes back to what the bigger picture that I think this is a progressive standpoint is we want to make everything even Steven. That's not how society has worked. That's not even how it works in the wilderness. Yeah, the animal who can't defend is going to always be devoured by the bigger animal. I mean, that's nature. And what I hear is, well, the system, you trust it to kill a person. I don't think that, especially African Americans, and I consider myself being an educated one, I don't trust that the system. I concede that, okay, hopefully it got it right. But the same way I concede that it got it right, I know that it got it wrong. We know that from wrongfully prosecuted cases. We know
Right.
that. So we don't trust that you prosecuted it wrong. We have to concede certain things. Now, you can use the term trust. I don't think it's trust at all.
I concede. I agree with that language. The issue is it's what we're using, and as long as we use it to execute people, hey, as far
We
as I'm
need to have
concerned,
something in place. So yeah,
yeah.
but so we
So,
jumped
so,
around
so,
on
so
that.
on your jobs number, let me just say, make sure my position is clear.
Hmm.
Your jobs number proves it's okay to keep the unemployment benefits at $600.
No,
Yes, it
that's your
does.
point. No, no. The job number says that the Democrats and Republicans, for this case, that Congress needs to remove the barriers so that more businesses can reopen, more businesses can call people back to work. And guess what's up? We talked about a lot of things that really have been exposed during this pandemic. There are a lot of business industries that where people who want to be entrepreneurs, there are a lot of incubators, there's a lot of money still out there. There are a lot of opportunity zones. There are a lot of African Americans and any other minority group can now start to own their own business. I mean, it's not going to be overnight, but this thing is proven more than just losing jobs and gaining jobs. There are areas where we know now, in another pandemic, this will be vital. How do I start to get training? How do I start to align resources? So, but the Republican point, I think, here is stop playing with this economic system. Stop when you think things are going well, and they are for Trump. And hopefully, we can kind of go over to the polling after this. It segues right into it. Then we can go into Biden.
I am very open to that, Professor,
Okay.
at your leisure.
Okay, because the very fact that the unemployment is dropping shows that the country still has that momentum that they want to get back to work for a lot of different reasons.
Okay.
Even the CDC head says we need to let the kids go back to school. Another thing that bodes well for Trump. Not so much Republicans and Democrats, but it bodes well for Trump.
Tell me why that bodes well for Trump, though. I've never understood that.
It shows a sense of normalcy. We're getting back. We're not consumed with COVID, but you can tell when the Democratic head, when I say the Pelosi's and the Schumers of our day, they don't want those two to coincide. They don't want the unemployment numbers to start to decrease. If he gets that thing under 2 digits, it's not going to be very hard, but if he gets that under 2 digits, back down to single digits, people are back in school. We're not talking about COVID every day. We're getting back to what we used to be. They need panic. They being the Democrats, they need panic. They need unrest because, again, that has proven itself to suppress Donald Trump's numbers.
So now, how do you get me to not think about COVID when today two people I know personally are being buried? Two. I've also got, hold on, I'm not finished. I've got 3 family members who've already passed away from COVID.
COVID related.
Yeah, how do you get me not to think about COVID?
Okay.
Because I'm working and I'm
I'll say it in the same way. I don't mean that you can't think about it, especially if it's a family member, but it cannot monopolize your very being that you don't do this and you don't do that, because you're not to say I'm going to stay in my house and not go to work. That's the only way that's
not
wrong.
it. So one of my relatives, he worked at a convenience store,
mm-hmm.
and he didn't think masks made a difference. He got COVID.
Okay.
And now he's dead.
Okay.
I hang that right on Donald Trump.
What?
And I'll tell you why. If Donald Trump had gone FDR the day after Pearl Harbor and gave a day that will live in infamy speech, all hands on deck, we're going to do everything we can to teach people to be safe, and laid it out. But he played this thing in such confusing ways. And here you have, and it's been proven, men are the worst. We don't buy into things. It's hard for us to accept stuff. And this guy, because of just the information he received, the messaging, he just did not believe. Matt, he thought it was conspiracy. It was
he nor the other leadership believed that.
But that goes because you don't have a unified message from president, Republicans, Democrat, state. If you got everybody giving a consistent message about safety and not some people saying, it doesn't make a difference, it does make a difference, maybe it doesn't, maybe, and this would have been maybe a simpler thing. But he didn't believe, hey, look, doesn't matter. Well, he gets COVID and he's dead, and at 53 years old, he's dead in no time.
Hindsight is 2020, and it's always easy to sit back and be that quarterback on Monday morning about what could have happened. But FDR wasn't being impeached within the same week that he found out. He wasn't being, okay, we're going to drag you into court. We want your lawyer in court. He wasn't being torn like that. FDR he wasn't hated like Trump. So you want me to believe I can now go back and revise this short history and go, well, they love Donald Trump so much that even at the beginning of the impeachment trial, they were willing to hear some impassioned speech about what he would say about COVID that they didn't even believe. I mean, come on, that doesn't even make sense. But what you're doing is you're saying...
But the presidents have always been under attack by the other party. Every president.
They haven't always been impeached by the other party.
Oh, they
They
tried
haven't
to.
always been investigated.
Bill Clinton was just taken through this. He just went through this. You go back. The
Right.
only reason they didn't with Obama is he was just that clean.
And I'll give you that.
Right. That thing with the Bill Clinton, that should have never been something to be impeached about. He put that in a box, he compartmentalized it, and he went on leading the country.
Right.
Anyway, like I said, we've gotten a consistent messaging about safety from the top down, doing everything you can. Not this, hey, it's just gonna go away. It's just, it's just like the common cold. Kids are immune. Like right now, he's putting out kids are immune. Promptly in Georgia, you get an 8-year-old that gets COVID and dies with no underlying issues. The kid had a seizure in the shower because his temperature got too high and died. I'm just saying that kind of messaging is irresponsible. So I'm hanging that one around his neck. And he can hang next to Herman Cain.
Well, now here's the thing with that. The messaging, especially when it's flawed, when you repeat what someone says, but you don't repeat what they said, because he never said they were more. He said they were nearly, they were almost, but all, because Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. No, I'm sorry, Maxine Waters said the same thing. And then she was trying to berate whichever one of the doctors going, well, why did the president say they were immune? And well, they were nearly immune. If you're saying I'm nearly immune, you're not saying I'm immune. So
you're saying enough to make me not do all I can to be safe.
Well, no,
because I know because if he says,
because like the stats bear that out. This is not a Trump convention. The stats bear that out. International data bears out and proves what Trump said was right.
7%.
You're just mad because he said it before the stats came out.
The numbers. I think they was like 7.43% of the total cases are kids under 10. That's not nearly immune. And just
given the world population, I would say it is.
Not to the parents who may have lost a child and the risk factors. Now we're putting kids back in school. Too great. All right, enough of that. Let's move on, Professor. What else would you want to make sure that we inform the populace about this morning as it relates to all things political?
Okay. So we just talked about Trump. So let's slide into the polls. From my understanding, Trump is now narrowing that gap, that alleged gap that Biden has over him. And we can say that it's of no reason for anything that Biden did. It's just that he's Biden. He's running against Trump. That's what that is. But the polls are narrowing now.
Now, why? Okay, you said not true, but any reason why would? What has Trump done, you think, to narrow the polls, or is this just natural in this phase of elections?
Well, I think the things that are still going on in Portland speaks to a narrative that President Trump doesn't, he doesn't carry it very well, but, wanting to make sure that our police officers are feel they have the support, that he's not going to do anything that's going to have any type of defunding to help that whole defunding move. And we know it's supposed to mean, but we also know how Democrats are trying to make it seem. That's why they don't change the term. That's why they continue to use the term defund.
Actually, though, you mentioned the word defund. Mm-hmm. What does defund mean to you? As a Republican, I know what I hear. I'm trying to think, what does that look like? Defund the police.
Yeah, it means to deduce, take away from. But we know what it means. I mean, educate.
I'm asking. I'm assuming I know what it means to me. I don't know. It's a new kind of phraseology.
It's not new phrase. But see, that's just it. that's what gets me. There's no new phraseology. There's no new phraseology. They're words that people use for a reason. And they do that so they can lead the masses. And they're the uneducated masses and the ones who go on emotion. So you can't tell me that defund, I can look that up in the dictionary. It was probably coined back in the 1800s or something like that, 1700 or 17th century, something like that. And tell me that it's a new phraseology. No,
so when I hear that, I hear smaller government. I'm trying to figure out why would Republicans be excited about that?
Wait a minute, but because they don't hear that. I don't even know how you heard that. You hear defund, you think smaller government
means less government. That's a government function. Some of the things that we have police doing, sitting out there handling traffic for church. There's a lot of stuff. escorting funerals. There's a lot of stuff you see police doing. I wonder, why is a police officer doing that?
Because guess what? You know that there are jerks that are speed down when they're trying to get past church letting out. They don't want to wait. That devil will speed down the road just so he can get around the car and probably cause an accident. And like you said, just that one person in my family, and I don't know that I know that it will happen. That's why they have them out there. It makes perfect sense. These churches are big. It's not the small church from back in our day where everybody can get out between traffic. No. There's probably more traffic on the road than coming out of church anyway, because less people go to church. So you need that type of stuff. But let me show you.
I don't know that I, as a taxpayer, though, should be paying for that.
Well, there are a lot of things that you pay for that you don't think you should.
And so I think I'm okay anytime you say, let's take a look at this and see if we can reduce what we're funding in a government context. That is a primary Republican pillar.
Mm-hmm.
Always scrutinize government. I'm just shocked that's not embraced, though, when it comes to police.
Well, you also know that if you put church in that same context, that's also what Republicans think. Yeah, we're going to protect our houses of worship. Democrats won't. Get that police officer off the street. He don't need to be protecting that house of worship.
All right, so we got a question that just came in. And it says, are we not responsible as people to do our own due diligence and stop letting so-called leaders determine our every move without asking questions of people we really do trust, or people that actually in the field that are concerned about the issue? Now listen, I'm gonna let that chew on that for a minute, because we have to take a break, and I really want people to think about that question. Again, I'm gonna read it again. Are we not responsible as people to do our own due diligence? Are you responsible for your own due diligence and stop letting so-called leaders determine our every move without asking questions of people we really do trust, or people that actually are in the field that we are concerned about? And I think that question, that's a huge thing that we need to unpack. I think, Professor, you're in the education arena, so it should be something that maybe you can really provide some insight and guidance on.
Okay. After the break.
Yeah, while we do that, why don't we go ahead and we'll take the break a little bit early today, so that we can be on top of our exit on the back end, because I know we always get in trouble on the back end for going too long. So why don't we take our break a couple of minutes early on the front end, pay some bills, inform the community about things that are happening. I know we have elections going on all over the country, and there are a lot of things that people are concerned about. So we're going to take a quick break. You listen to In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back, and then we'll pick up on that question that we received on our chat line. We'll be right back.
I'm muting out.
Kubo, what have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals.
Wow.
And beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm going to do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
All right, we are back live on Interstate Radio, Radio, where everybody can be a star. We mean that. Listen, you can be a star. Here's how you can be a star. Simple. All you need to do is go to Intex News Radio YouTube page first. Check us out there. You can get to see the fancy hat wear. The haberdashery is in full effect this morning. Also, we want you to consider calling in. The call-in number 929-205-6099. Listen, I remember the days when I was a caller to shows and the feeling and anxiety calling in. Couple things. We don't care what you want to talk about. We're really, really open-minded about it. We love any discussion that's political that you might want to get engaged in. So if you've got a question about something political or a thought or opinion, you can call in and you can share it. Now, here's how you really get funky with this. You don't have to be you. I don't know you. You can be anybody you want to be when you call in, and you don't have to give your real name, your real city, your real occupation. You know, you can be whoever you want to be. All we care is that your question be real, something that you're concerned about, and we love to talk with you about it. So call in number 929-205-6099. If you are asked for an ID or it prompts you to an ID, the ID number is 834-088-74026. Okay, so we broke that, Professor.
Yeah.
There was a question on the table about who's responsible. Are we responsible for our own due diligence? And the people on the radio can't see your screen, Professor, that you're holding up.
Yeah, I'm showing. This is what Carl Rove used to do. Carl Rove had that one.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not responsible as people for what. So stop letting leaders determine our every move. What are your thoughts about this question?
I think that answer or that question is in the right ball field. And here's why. I'm going to use Dr. Fauci as an example. We haven't talked on this show about the leading conspiracy theories. Now, I have a couple of friends. One was in the Army. Well, this one's in the Army. He has the wildest conspiracy theories, starting from 9/11. Oh, it was GW. You know, the wildest things going on. But there's a Pew Research study that says that more and more, like they're like 25% of adults they hold these different conspiracy theories about the COVID-19 or the virus, why it's here, what's the purpose, one world order, that vaccination. So with Dr. Fauci is, to this question's point, Dr. Fauci
is a leader.
Is a leader in the field. We call him a subject matter expert. That's how you typically refer to him. He has 40 plus years in disease, infectious disease, or epidemiology, whatever it is. So tell me, why did he, and this is where the internet is not forgiving. You have 40 plus years, but in February, he was on saying that masks were not safe. As a matter of fact, mask makes you even more dangerous. As a matter of fact, if you move that mask to
let me get the door, Professor.
Get that door because we're going to rumble in this thing. I know you. Okay.
You want me to tell you why?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because also in the past 40 years, and it takes it back to, there are a lot of posts about Dr. Fauci. Remember how he and Dr. Burke came out? They were leaders in the HIV study. There were a bunch of people from the LGBT group, and they weren't really referred to as that back then. They had signs, Dr. Fauci, you're killing us. Because Dr. Fauci kind of doing the same thing. The reasons, to speak to this first question, the reason why we should do our due diligence, there's a lot of information on the internet. And yeah, there's a lot of fake stuff, but simple searches, you keep at it, you change your keywords, you string them together, you use different type of operators to tie those words together, but you can get some really good information because these subject matter experts, they're hijacked. Dr. Fauci has an agenda. The reason why I'll say that is people get all over Donald Trump about weighing in on this healthcare stuff, but you let Bill Gates, who does not hold a degree in it, you let him talk about the vaccinations, and you let him talk about the international news, but you don't say anything about that. And he and Dr. Fauci have this relationship that one can only tie to money. And like you said, we know it's not money that's the root of all evil. It's the love of money. And there is something about that relationship that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. And if you
between Fauci and Bill Gates, between Fauci and Bill Gates,
Fauci, Bill Gates, the whole thing. So
if
you feed into that conspiracy theory that they want to vaccinate, they want to implant chips, they want to control, blah, 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 it really makes sense. And you can really go back to, why does Dr. Fauci waver on something he's been doing for 40 years and we call him some renowned expert?
Well, let me, a couple of things. Professor, if you spent all summer giving speeches about how horrible and unreliable textbooks are, and then you get to the fall semester and you say, hey, everybody, please pull out your textbook so we can go over this information. People in your class going, well, Professor, how can we trust this information? Right? So what has happened in our society is there's a certain amount of healthy scrutiny that we should have. And then there's a level
we have a caller coming in.
Okay, let's jump two things real quick. I'm going to leave that where it is. Because all of a sudden now, this doggone chat line is blowing up. Carl, who I think he says he's a truck driver. Longtime caller says people are using their job for social outlet, and it's not the money. And then we have Lisa, I think is filing, and she is saying Trump still hasn't evolved. This must be so hard for the. Go ahead, we got a caller, Professor. Bring the caller.
We have a caller. This is straight up the middle. Who do we have?
Hey, it's Yvette Brown.
Hey, Yvette, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing good. I've told Clint about you. And so let me just introduce you to the show. This is Miss Yvette Brown. She's hailing, I think, out of the great state of Georgia, where we may have our VEET out of, but we don't know that just yet. We'll talk about that later. We met on one of the social media platforms. And what I'll say that I know about you, Yvette, is that you are definitely an advocate for single mothers, health, and I would say you're an activist. I know you're a podcaster, so if you would just take a moment to introduce the rest of what I haven't or even what I butchered, and let us know a little bit about yourself, and then we have a question for you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yes, you're all the way right. My name is Yvette Brown. I'm a self-published author. My book is entitled Pregnant by Myself, which can be found on Amazon as well on my website at www.yvette-brown.com. I am a healthcare worker as well, an ex-correction officer, and I definitely love promoting single moms and dads. I don't do that as much, but single moms and dads. And I am a podcast. My podcast is called Yvette Talk, which is on all major platforms. And other than that, that's just me. I love networking. I love people. I'm definitely in tune with meeting and engaging with a variety of people so that we all be able to propel and feed one another. So that's about it.
You know, I like the fact that you mentioned single dads, because I was a single dad for nearly 10 years. Sometimes I'm like everybody else, that number grows. I'll say 10, almost 11. I think it was a little more than 9 years. And we don't have the best reputation. Dads, and then if the mother and father aren't together, we're looked at as absent fathers, and if they have a relationship and the money's not there, then we're deadbeat dads.
Right.
So we catch it a lot of different ways. So I certainly appreciate that you do acknowledge and you call out single dads, because it wasn't always good. It wasn't always easy for me to do that. So anyway, thanks for that. So let me,
Absolutely.
before I turn it over to Clint, let me ask you this: in this, we're still in the pandemic, and I want to call it a quasi-pandemic because I think we're trying to weasel out of it and get back to work and have some sense of normalcy in our lives. But I noticed there are a couple of reports that talk about the domestic violence is spiking, and they're tying that directly to the close confines and the 24/7 now this lockdown that we're in. What do you say about that, and what do you offer people to do to try to alleviate some of that tension that's in the home?
Wow. Unfortunately, we are caught up in confusion, right? The COVID is confusion. And I think that the domestic violence comes from the confusion and aggravation. I personally was an ex domestic violent victim back in my early days. And a lot of times when you deal with people that hit you or verbally abuse you, if you're not willing to let go, then you don't know really what to do. But I think that the anger and the frustration that comes from being confined in the same home for a long period of time is just, is really an outlet to get out, especially now because there's so many resources that's available for people to get help from a broad range of variety. I think that it's no excuse to eat no one or verbally or mentally abuse somebody. It's no excuse for it, but I definitely think now is the time to get out of the situation more than anything, because we already have COVID killing people. We don't need people killing people due to abuse.
Right. Okay. And I don't know if you heard the report, but Michelle Obama has announced that she's, and I'm going to use the term suffering. I don't know if that's the term she used, but definitely suffering from a case of depression. And, someone who has it all. As a matter of fact, has the most beloved president that most people would say. I mean, that's your husband. How are you depressed? How are you cooped up in a $14 million mansion out up in the vineyard? How does that happen? So I guess, we're not immune from it no matter how much money you have and who you're married to and what you do, right?
Absolutely. Because everything starts in the mind, so mentally, if you tell yourself, hey, I'm just sad today, if you feed yourself that, you keep looking at something that's draining you, the news. I don't even watch the news. Now I'm in tune with what's going on, but I can't feed that to my spirit, because if I keep feeding that negativity, that's what's going to become my reality mentally first. So I think, like you said, money is not going to take away your mental state. You are in control of your mental state. So for Miss Obama to be depressed is just show you that we are what we think, what we believe, what we consume, and she's consuming a lot and looking at this repeatedly over and over and over again, and now mentally she's falling weak, falling short.
Wow, that's good. Clint.
Well, thank you very much, Professor, and thank you, Yvette, for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. More importantly, I want to thank you for being a role model for single moms and how you navigate life in that aspect. Just for our listeners and our viewers out there, we have Yvette Brown on the telephone. She's a self-published author. Book is Pregnant by Myself. And you can get that book on Amazon. Just go on and click on and look it up just like I did, and you'll see what's there. So tell us, a lot of people, we, like the professor indicated, he's lived the life of a single parent. A lot of us grew up in single family households and we have perspective. What are some of the pressing things right now in this COVID time mentally that are affecting that from your perspective, single mothers, as they deal with this crazy world that we've now been thrust upon us?
What is some of I didn't catch the beginning, I'm sorry.
Some of the issues that single moms, everybody's got similar issues, stuck at the house, this, that, and the other. But what are some of the more particular things you think single moms are dealing with that create even more anxiety in this time?
I think the fact that they don't have that alone time, that you can go to school and I'll feed me, get back. And I also think the resources of making sure food is in the house or even a babysitter. I work in the health field and I run by office that I work at, and a lot of people can't come to work because we don't have babysitters. So, I think the anxiety of what's going to happen next and just trying to take everything at once and make the best of it is causing a lot of anxiety, from babysitting to finances to self-love. Everything. It's just, I think it's important to find a balance and do a schedule. I do a schedule. So I think it's important to have some structure.
Right. One of the things I value so much is that when I'm thinking about what to do, when to do, and how to do it, some people resent this, but I think before I do that, let me check with the other half before that. I was thinking about planning something or going somewhere, and you got to float the idea for, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And, sometimes I resent that sometimes, that I just can't go and decide it. Then other times I'm glad I did, because it sounded like a good idea to me, and then it ain't such a good idea. What do single moms do in that space where they need someone to filter things, or when they've got to thinking about what to do, maybe change kids' school or whatever it may be? What does a single mother do in that space? Like right now, we're dealing with the issue of going back to school or going online. Well, we're sitting at the table, the two of us hashing this out. I've got ideas, she's got ideas, and I know at the end of the day, we have to come to a consensus. How does a single mother navigate that process without a partner playing a major role?
I think that's on an individual basis. I know for me, I've been a single mom for quite some time, so I know, I have to get X, Y, and Z done no matter what. So I sit down and I look at the pros and the cons. For me, my children are not going back to school. It doesn't make sense, especially me working in the health field. So I know that I have to buy my oldest daughter another laptop so she can be sufficient in school. She's 17 years old. And the cool thing about my second daughter is that her father is active in her life. So he has the availability to work from home. So I kind of just, need to make sure that 1 + 1 = 2. So for me, I'm just making sure that I'm doing the best thing for my children and for my life, so it makes sense moving forward. And I think for a single mom that don't have that support system, I think like writing down a plan will be sufficient in order to move forward in decision making. I think, planning is crucial in anything that you do.
Very interesting, though. Well, thank you very much for that insight. I know that there are a lot of single mothers out there that navigating their way, doing a great job. Sometimes you don't need that loser in the picture anyway.
Hey, let's promote families around.
Let them talk. Go ahead and preach.
Listen, Professor knows I am anti-ignorance and anti-losers. So.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes the best thing you can do, and I should tell my mom, the best thing you did is get rid of that loser.
Oh no!
Let me grow and flourish. So I commend you on that. What kind of thing would you want? You're here with us on our show, and I know you do a lot of public stuff. What would you want people to know about single mothers and what they're dealing with, just in life in general? This thing that, from your perspective, that we're not getting about being a single mother right
now? Life in general as a single mother right now is overwhelming. It's overwhelming because when you don't have a real solid support system and you are your own support system, you can get drained. You can be emotionally drained, financially drained, spiritually drained. It's overwhelming. But it's important that you keep your mental at the highest peak. I think that you can break down if you don't keep your mental together. It's easy to break down, but it's overwhelming for single mothers. I know for me personally, sometimes I get overwhelmed, but I take a step back and I just regroup. And a lot of single mothers are overwhelmed because they don't know which way to go if you don't have any support. So,
right. Well, So if somebody wanted to find out more about what you do, information that you put out, your book, things of that nature, Yvette, where can they get that information?
They can go to my website at www.yvette-brown.com, or they can go to my Instagram at Miss Yvette. I believe it's Miss Yvette _Brown, and check that out. Or go to Amazon and look it up. It's a bio of what the book is about and everything in that nature.
Now I'm gonna tell you now. I Googled you and I didn't get just Yvette Brown. I got some actress showed up at first. It took me connecting your book title together with it, and then I got your information that showed up. But there's an actress by the name of Yvette Brown.
Also out of Georgia, I believe.
Yeah, sure
and
is.
her name is Yvette Nicole Brown, right?
Yeah.
Yvette Nicole Brown.
Yes.
Yeah, Yvette Nicole Brown.
No, that's not me. She's worth $1 million or something like that.
Right. Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Yvette, for joining us. We appreciate it very much. Again, everybody, this is Yvette Brown out of Atlanta. She's a self-published author of a single all by myself. Please,
pregnant.
Pregnant all by myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, pregnant all by myself. Listen,
don't emphasize that I'm single.
Now, don't be surprised if some of the professors, religious zealot Republican supporters get in touch with you and say that you're blaspheming Mary by claiming that you're pregnant all by yourself. So just be ready for those emails to start coming in. They're gonna have some questions, particularly when they find out it happened twice. So anyway, thank you so much, Yvette, for joining us. As you can see, we have a little bit of fun with our show. Please, you're welcome anytime you want to call us or join in the show. And thank you very much for being here with us, Professor.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll chat later.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we are running out of time.
Yes, sir. We're going to get out on time today, Professor.
On time. I got you.
Okay, your shot. What else you want to?
Let's talk about TikTok, because that's it has the president in it.
Don't do. I'm warning you.
We're going there.
Okay, fine.
We are going.
All right. What is the issue with TikTok?
The issue with TikTok is we have yet another example of a Chinese company who's ruled by the Chinese Communist Party under their authority, who has a very popular platform, whose application captures, I don't want to say this because I don't know it to be a fact. I'm repeating this. Their app captures more private information than Facebook, the back end. And it's purely because of how the app is made. Now, most of us, including myself, because I don't care if what you find out of mine, as long as you get my bank account, as long as the bank refunds me, you don't send me in the poorhouse. Not that I want anyone to hack me. I don't have those concerns that a lot of people have about,
privacy,
what the government can and can't see.
Yes.
Well, the issue with TikTok, yet again, we've had the issue with Huawei. Huawei is the big telecommunications company, and whatever that relationship is to the Chinese Communist Party. We had them in Donald Trump's first year. Now, Donald Trump has taken aim at China before he was president, before he even talked about it years ago. If you pull up Donald Trump has always taken aim at China. There's credence to why he says that.
Now, was that between his contracts with China to help make his ties?
Hey, there are most of our companies, most of our big companies are multinational companies. They all do business in China. That's kind of the rub here with TikTok, because Apple, one of our biggest, if not the biggest company, it's kind of like, yeah, we know China does a lot of things that we don't like them to do, but we're making money. To your point, and I know you have this line in the sand, well, we shouldn't do this. But if you're willing to turn your head and let China take data, as long as you make 20%, because right now Huawei is constrained in the United States. Huawei makes a lot of those makes the Samsung phones. Not a lot of them. They make those phones, the rival to the iPhone. If Donald Trump bans TikTok, you automatically gut punch Apple, who's going to lose 20% of that. So they don't really want the ban, but they concede. They agree. There's no pushback that China and the TikTok app, while very popular, and my wife can tell you, she probably hates it. I love it. I don't have anything up there. I just have a profile picture, but it's so funny. The memes, the dancing, all that stuff. But on the back end, is what you have is what you lose. And most people don't care until something happens and it's too late. And before I let you get in, because I see you biting your bottom lip, we got 2 minutes.
What does that mean when I bite my bottom?
I don't know, but I'm nervous. It makes me nervous. And you made me forget where I was going with that. But
this is a filibuster, man. It's 5 minutes. Get a filibuster.
Go ahead, get it, man.
End of the show. Listen, we're gonna come back to TikTok. We'll come back to. Go ahead, make your final point. Go ahead, Professor.
No, that's it. I mean, I think the nation should understand what Donald Trump is doing because after the fact.
Go ahead.
No, because most people don't. Just like he was saying, China's been manipulating money. China has been ripping off America. When he put the tariffs in place, this was before the COVID. Our economy was booming. We were coming back. China is no longer just a pure dominant. You know, they're bigger than us in population, but it was working. Now we have the COVID. China is finding another way to deal with us. And you can't tell me they all of a sudden changed their ways and Donald Trump has not been able to apply the pressure that he really wants. And I think people need to understand the bigger picture or maybe behind the scenes, not the bigger picture, because TikTok, they go, well, it's just a platform for us to have fun. Or you having fun at the country's expense.
So real quick, I'm going to take just 1 minute of extra time here because I know we're supposed to be off and say this. The problem Donald Trump has is he's made himself untrustworthy by lying so much about nothing. So now that when he actually talks about something, everybody wonders, I don't know what you're talking. I don't know if I can trust what you're saying. You know, if he had not lied about his crowd size and so many other things, just to lie. Now, his problem is people are saying, this sounds weird. I don't know if I can understand it because he's actually telling the truth. The problem is nobody can. All right, so here we go. So we got to go. So we'll come back to TikTok next week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week. We love you. We appreciate you so much. You've been listening to In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. Stay tuned for The Sole Purpose, co-hosted by Keith and Monica Harris, one of the most dynamic couples we have in the Bay Area. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and we will see you all back here next week. See you.